It's time for your NFL Week 16. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. It's already Week 16. It's almost Christmas. Santa's almost here. Get ready. Get ready for the presents under the tree. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Give you some presents with my picks this week for week number 16 of the 2023 NFL season. What's going on, BLV football fans? What's happening? Gridiron gamblers, my degenerates out there, how we doing? Let's rock. It's week 16 time. Don't forget to spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already. And I know there's a lot of you that watch this video every week, and I know a lot of you are not subscribed. So I'm going to do the cliche YouTuber thing as a hack that I am and say, please subscribe. All right. Now, let's say hello to the people in the chat before I get to my record. What's going on, Big Al? The myth, the legend himself, Official Mike, is in the chat working on his university life. We've got Deshaun in the chat. We have Christopher Judd saying Stroud is going to be out. I would have picked the Browns even with him in. So pick my Browns this week. Okay. We've got Jax Pratt in the chat. We've got Isaiah saying LFG, Tom Brady style. We've got Marcus Hanna in the chat. We've got Miss Jennifer with the cutest dog in the chat. Look at that dog. Look at that dog. And we've got a lot of party people. So let's begin with my record last week and for the season. So last week was a bit of a mix. 144-80 straight up. Spread record is 120-96-8. Over under 119, 103. And last week straight up, we went 10-6. Last week, we had a 10-6 straight up record because I decided to pick Tommy DeVito over the Saints for fun, and it didn't come through. Spread record, not great. 6 wins, 8 losses, 2 pushes in the same week. And totals, not good. 7-9. Okay? So, totals was a real killer last week. I mean, there was a lot that just missed on the over or just missed on the under. There was a lot of those. That sucked. So, looking forward to that this week to get back on track. But, straight up, doing well. Spread, doing pretty darn well. And best bets, we did go 3-2 last week on the best bets. So, hoping to continue the 60% each and every week for the rest of this NFL season, and looking forward to the playoffs to make a lot of money during the playoffs. I always really enjoy betting the playoff games because I can spend more time on the individual games and the individual matchups. There's a couple that I really like this week, which I'll have to tune into my best bets for those picks. But for the rest of the regular season, it's kind of like picking 1 or 2 or 3 games that you really like and then kind of hammering those and leaving the rest for the playoffs. That's really my goal for the rest of the regular season. Big Al says, Mitch and I are both 144-80 straight up. So we both have the same record. Congrats to Big Al for keeping up. All right, let's go. With Thursday Night Football, we've got the Los Angeles Rams -4 at home over the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback for the Saints. I know I have to remind you because we never really know, truly. Is it going to be Jameis Winston? Is it going to be Derek Carr? Is it going to be Drew Brees out of retirement? I bet they wish. Jermari wishes. Turtle wishes. But that's not the case, okay? We've got Derek Carr, perhaps the worst leader in sports right now, taking on perhaps the most underrated QB in the game right now. Once again, his name is Matthew Stafford, and nobody's talking about him as an MVP candidate. But I must say that Matthew Stafford has been a baller supreme over the last few weeks. making throws all over the field, looking in his prime, from intermediate to deep to short to orchestrating this offense. LA is -4. They have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua healthy. I think that means they're going to throw the football well and effectively against a team that does typically like to play man coverage. I don't think the Saints are specifically in the nickel position equipped to defend these two receivers independently. So I think that's going to have to make them play some zone more than they would like. Sean McVay typically has a good plan, especially when they're able to run the ball. And Williams has been an absolute stud, one of the 5 best running backs in the game this year, catching the football, running the football. And I think he's going to slash the Saints to death in this game. That's going to lead to big plays for Matthew Stafford. I think they're going to stay out of 3rd and long, and that's the situations they don't want to be in. And I think they're going to score high 20s, low 30s. The question is, can the Saints keep up? The Rams defense, they're not great. They're not great. There's an opportunity here for the Saints to maybe run the football against the Rams, although the Rams have been pretty good against running backs overall this season, especially in keeping those fantasy points down. So if you're in the fantasy playoffs, something to think about. But also, I do feel like just the overall Saints offense is pretty inconsistent, especially they can move the ball between the 20s, between the 30s, but then they struggle to get the ball in the end zone. For whatever reason, Taysom Hill wasn't much of the game plan last week. Don't really know why. They've decided to shift to more Jamal Williams and less Taysom Hill. Chris Olave is in the lineup, so that matters. Rashid Shaheed. Like, Michael Thomas has been out. They've had issues with the offensive line at times. Maybe they'll have issues with Aaron Donald. I think that the Rams are just the better team. The Rams are at home. The Rams need this game to make the playoffs, especially after Seattle did their deed and beat the Eagles. And that really allowed the Seahawks to make a push towards the playoffs. So that even motivates the Rams more to win this game if they didn't need more motivation. The Saints obviously need this game, but they need the game next week a lot more against Tampa Bay. That game matters way more than this game. The Rams, this is crucial. And I think they've been very, very good in front of the Ramley at home, scoring points, moving the ball. I think they'll do it again. And I just don't think the Saints are going to be able to keep up. Their offense is too inconsistent, too not on the same page. Derek Carr does not have the affection of his teammates. So I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford, a baller, a clutch playmaker. And I'm going to take the Rams to win. And I'm going to take the Rams to cover this game. Big Al also has Rams 27-17. Mike asks, Mitch, why am I so awesome? I don't know. They will study me after this video. Okay. The Bengals and the Steelers. I didn't know what I was trying to say there. That didn't come out well. But I don't know. Thank you for thinking I'm awesome. Okay, the Bengals at the Steelers. If you think I'm awesome, Gronk, spike the damn like button, damn it. All right, Bengals at the Steelers. The Steelers. It's time for a Mike Tomlin rah-rah spot, ain't it? Isn't it? Isn't it? You would think no Jamar Chase, right? T. Higgins is going to get a lot of targets, but without Jamar Chase, there's less of an explosive element. Less worry about a vertical passing game. Less worry about them throwing the ball over your head, which allows the Steelers, I think, to put more eggs in the stop-the-run basket. And we've had a quarterback switch with the Steelers. Trubisky out. My fellow Mitch. I don't know if he makes the Mitch Hall of Fame, though. I don't know. Not a very common name, so I'm not sure. But we'll do our research, and we'll get back to you on that. We've got, I don't know if we have a better quarterback. Is Mason Rudolph? I mean, at least Mason Rudolph. Here's the one thing I'll say about Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph is playing near Christmas. So you would think that a man named Rudolph would be prepared, would be ready to go. This is his time of the year, Mason Rudolph. So you would think if he was ever going to play well, that he would play well on Christmas weekend. I mean, his name's Rudolph. If he doesn't play well on Christmas weekend, when is he going to play well? Certainly not September. As long as somebody doesn't beat him with his own helmet, I think we're okay. But George Pickens, I don't know what to think of that guy. He doesn't even try half the time. He doesn't even block. He doesn't want to block. Now, DJ Reader is out. DJ Reader is crucial to the Bengals' run defense. Without DJ Reader, it allows the other team to establish the run. The Bengals' defense has been not very good this year. I think a lot of people overlook how bad the Bengals' defense has been. And may I remind you that the Steelers had 400 yards against the Bengals in the first game. 400. The Steelers had 400. That was the first game without Matt Canada. That was the first Jake Browning game. It was the week after where he went off. Now, maybe some of that is Browning in his first start, understanding what he is, what he isn't. The Bengals figured it out. Maybe that's the case. But no Jamar Chase scares me. No DJ Reader scares me. The game's in Pittsburgh. I respect the home field. I'm going with the upset here. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers to win. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers to cover. I think their defense makes a couple big plays. I think the loss of Jamar Chase is big. And I think the defense of the Bengals is very susceptible. We saw Nick Mullins and Chandler move the ball up and down the field. And if it were not for some fluky catches by T. Higgins and some fourth downs, I don't think the Bengals win that game. So despite me wanting the Bengals to win this game, I don't want the Steelers to win. F that. I think the Steelers are going to pull this one out. So I'm going to go Pittsburgh to win. Rudolph has to win on Christmas. If he doesn't, I can't believe in humanity anymore. Like, I'm done with humanity. So I'm going to go Pittsburgh Steelers to win. Pittsburgh Steelers to cover. Next. Buffalo Bills at the LA Chargers. Now, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. You guys know I like to get outside the headspace of Mitch sometimes. And yes, I just referred to myself in third person like The Rock. I don't care what you say. So I get outside of the Mitch headspace and I listen to other podcasts and I listen to other people that I deem to be smart. Although, is anyone really smart picking NFL games? I don't know. And people keep saying that this is a coach bump spot. This is like a bad spot for the Bills. Brother, I have news for you. The LA Chargers quarterback is a hockey stick. His name is Easton Stick. Did you watch him play? I don't care that the worst coach I've quite possibly ever seen has been fired. And the Chargers, yes, they looked like they didn't try in that game against the Raiders. I get it. But bro, Easton Stick is bad. I'm talking he is New York Jet quarterback level bad. He is that bad. So you want me to back Trevor Siemian? I don't care how many points it is. This isn't even 2 touchdowns. This is the Buffalo Bills. This is what we deem on the bottom line view to be a stat game. This is a stat game for Josh Allen. This is a stat game for James Cook. A stat game for Stephon Diggs. This is, we go out in the first half, we play hard, we put up our 4 touchdowns in the first half, and we coast to a 2-touchdown win. The Bills' defense has played way better as of late. I don't think the Chargers are going to move the ball. I don't think Eckler's going to be able to run it. He's washed. The wide receivers, who? Who we got? Quentin Johnston's bust? Who? Jalen Guyton? Guys, people forget how bad the Chargers are. Like, without Justin Herbert, I rank them as the worst team in the NFL. People, I'm not kidding you. They're the worst team in the league without Justin Herbert. Their defense isn't going to stop the run or the pass of the Bills. The Bills are a complete team. I rank them as the second best team going into week 16. I got the second best team against the worst team. This is Bills. This is Bills win, Bills cover. I do not care about the spot whatsoever. Give me the Bills. Next, the Seattle Seahawks at the Tennessee Titans. Now, Ryan Tannehill, who I actually forgot for a second he existed. I'm not even lying. When I saw that the Titans were going to start Ryan Tannehill, I literally forgot he was on the team. I forgot Ryan Tannehill was on the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis, the Mayo man, the banana peel guy, he's out. So Ryan Tannehill is in. And Seattle, Drew Lock, I think, is going to be the backup, which is unfortunate because Drew Lock is my favorite quarterback in the NFL. So Geno Smith will be in. But Drew Lock put on for Seattle on Monday night. That was epic. And I actually think this is one of those where, yeah, Tennessee's been good at home. Yeah, Tennessee, you know, they're feisty. They fight hard. Mike Vrabel, all that stuff. But this is kind of one of those games to me where I feel like the Seahawks are going to ride the momentum that they got from the Monday night win. I don't sense this as like a down, overlooking type of spot. I think especially if Geno is going to be in here, this is like, okay, Geno's going to be super focused. Geno's going to be on his P's and Q's. He was out. He's like hyped to get back in the lineup. And I think the rest of the team is going to feed off that. I think if Geno's in the lineup, like Metcalf, Lockett, like they're all going to be like, oh yeah, we got our guy back. We got Geno back. And although we like Drew Lock, we know this is Geno's team. Like we're going to be pumped. And that's kind of what I think it's going to be. And then I look at the matchups. I feel like Leonard Williams, super impressive in that game against Philadelphia. I thought the Seahawks defense, despite some injuries, actually played really well against Philadelphia. And I think they can stuff the run of Tennessee, force Tannehill to be a thrower in this game. And Tannehill has been putrid all year when he's played. I don't think the Titans are going to have much rhythm throwing the ball in this game whatsoever. And then on the other side, I think that Geno could have a ton of success against the Titans defense that gives up a ton of big plays down the field. So I think that Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, the way that the Seahawks like to play offense, they're run the ball and look for explosive passes. This suits well for Seahawks and the Seahawks style. So I'm going to go Seattle to win, Seattle to cover. I like this matchup for Seattle here, and I think they win. Next, the Indianapolis Colts at the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you guys this. I cannot pick a Colts game right to save my life. So do not listen to me when it comes to the Colts. Literally blank out everything I say when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts. I pick them, they lose. I pick against them, they win. So it doesn't really matter what I do. At least it feels that way. I can't get a Colts game right. I don't know what it is. I really don't. I can't understand it. Okay? But we've got the Atlanta Falcons. And honestly, like everything about this game tells me the Falcons suck and the Colts should win. But then at the same time, I feel like this is also a weird game where Atlanta should win. Like this is one of those games I could easily see both teams winning by 3 points. Exactly 3 or 4 points. Like this is going to be like 24-20 for either team. I don't know which one, but it's going to be that score, something like that. And it could go either way. Now, Taylor Heineken back in the NFL. Our boy is back. Our favorite beverage. He is back on a football Sunday. I don't know. Is this game on Sunday or Saturday? I don't really care. Who cares? Who's watching this game anyways other than Claire? Really? Come on. Or Party. I don't know. So, I don't know. Maybe it's a tie. Caesar might be right. So, I don't even want to pick this game. But for the sake of the Colts, I'm going to pick them because I can't pick Arthur Smith. I mean, I'm done with Arthur Smith. The guy doesn't know that he has top 10 picks at tight end, running back, and wide receiver. The man has lost his way. The man is flabbergasted, flustered, and absolutely needs to be fired. That's the F word I'm looking for here. Atlanta, though, if they get David Onyemata back, that will help them stop the run, and that will give them a chance on defense to slow down Gardner Minshew and company. Michael Pittman dealing with a concussion. I do think he'll play. Jonathan Taylor looks like he'll be back. I'm going to go Colts. I think they're the better team, but who knows? Next, the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans. If CJ Stroud plays, I'll take the Texans. If CJ Stroud does not play, which it appears he won't, I'll take the Browns. Do I need to explain anything else? I don't. We've got Joe effing Flacco. I told you not to F with Flacco, and you guys still F with Flacco. It's almost January, guys. And as I've explained, the closer we get to January, the more that Joe Flacco evolves, the more that Joe Flacco, he upgrades, he gets better, he's like he grows in power. The closer he gets to January Joe starts to peek his head out and see it's his time of the year. So I'm just saying, but Cleveland's defense is elite. Here's the one thing. Cleveland's defense is shit on the road. In fact, they're like the best team in the NFL at home on defense and the worst team on the road. So make that make sense. I don't really get it, but I do think the Texans defense played well against Tennessee. The Browns want to do similar things, run the ball, play action, that sort of deal. So they kind of saw, that type of formula last week. I think the Texans will be well prepared on defense. But I will say, if Stroud doesn't play, I don't see Case Keenum pulling another one out of his hat. So Stroud plays, Stroud wins. Stroud doesn't play, Flacco wins. Period. Not a lot more analysis needed. Next. The Green Bay Packers at the Carolina Panthers. I've been saying for weeks, I don't know how many weeks, we've got professional journalists from The Ringer talking about Christian Watson doesn't matter. Christian Watson isn't any better than Wicks. Hey, brother, how many wins do the Packers have lately without Christian Watson? I'll wait. So, Big Al, let me tell you something, brother. We've got Christian Watson in the lineup. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Lions. Okay? We've got Christian Watson out of the lineup. They lose to the Bucks, and they lose to Tommy DeVito. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Okay? On top of that, we've got Jair Alexander. I don't know if he's going to be in or out. Who the hell knows? Does this guy want to play? We've got Joe Barry, and if I was Jair, I wouldn't want to play on his defense either. He's a disaster. Joe Barry's the worst defensive coordinator known to humankind. Now, that being said, Carolina's at home. They might need a rainstorm to win another game because that's the only way they're going to win. But they're at home. I think Carolina's defense is feisty. I think Carolina's defense is underrated. They've got good players. J.C. Horn really helps. And I think the Packers will run it okay. I think their pass game will be inconsistent in this one if Watson does not play. And then defensively, the Packers suck. Like, I don't care. Now, Bryce Young also sucks. There's no getting around that. The Panthers won't be able to throw the ball, but I do think that their run game can engineer a close game here. I do think that's possible. So right now, I'm going to take Green Bay to win, but I'm going to take the points with Carolina. Maybe I'm stepping in it a little bit. But if Watson and Alexander do not play, those are like two of their most important players. We've seen that as evidence. And I think Carolina is going to run the ball really well in this game because the Packers suck against the run. And they don't care to stop it. So give me Green Bay to win. Give me Carolina to cover. It's too many points. Carolina keeps getting too many points. People know, the books know that nobody wants to bet in their right mind on Carolina. So they keep getting too many points. The value is going to be on Carolina, even after they beat the Falcons. Next, the Commanders at the Jets. Are you kidding me? Is this a real football game? Do I actually have to pick this? Aaron Rodgers, oh, what do we know? He's not going to play this year. Who would have thought? Not me. Not me. Wow, I'm shocked. Oh. Anyways, we got the Jets -3. What? Who's playing quarterback? Guys, can you answer that? Who's playing quarterback for the Jets? Zach Wilson was dehydrated and somehow his dehydration led to a concussion. I don't know how that works. Never had that happen to me personally. But concussion from dehydration, never heard of that. If it's Trevor Siemian, are you kidding me? You've got to pick the Commanders, right? Like, Trevor Siemian is terrible. And then on top of that, the Jets can't block. Like, did you watch the Dolphins game? I cannot. I'm done with the Jets. For no other reason, I'm going to pick the Commanders because I cannot stand the Jets. I am done with the Jets. They suck. I can't stand Robert Saleh. I can't stand his arrogance. I can't stand that they have this man Hackett calling plays who sucks. There's Joe Barry on defense and Hackett on offense. Two bums. They both come from Green Bay. No wonder Aaron Rodgers wanted to leave. My goodness. This guy, their offensive line is so bad. So Washington, yeah, their coach is washed. Their coach needs to retire. All that stuff. But at least Washington, hopefully Jacoby finds a way into this game because maybe that will help them win. But you're giving me points with the against the Jets? What? Give me the Commanders, I guess. I don't know. Next, the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. Guys, if you haven't already, Gronk spiked the like button. Only 26 likes. We have over 80 people in here, so make sure to Gronk spike that like button. Detroit at Minnesota. Detroit is favored by 3 in the hook. This one's a really good game, actually, I think. And it intrigues me from one standpoint. Jared Goff and the Lions offense against Brian Flores and the Vikings defense. Brian Flores, you may remember, had a defense absolutely shut down and embarrass Jared Goff. Not once, but twice. Both in New England and in Miami. He absolutely obliterated Jared Goff with blitz-heavy, aggressive game plans. The Lions looked really impressive on Saturday night against Denver. But they also played a defense that suits their style, right? Detroit, we thought it would be a high-scoring game. They're able to run the ball. That sets everything up. Denver's one of the worst run defenses in football, right? Detroit, they run the ball. It sets up play action. It keeps Jared Goff out of drop back pass. And it allows them to move the ball, control the clock, control the game, and put their defense in a good situation to succeed. Now, after a big win, they're feeling themselves a little bit more, right? They went in with an edge to that Broncos game. This game, they're going to Minnesota. It's a division rival. They're playing a defense and a scheme that typically and traditionally they struggle with. At least Jared Goff does. That being said, Detroit has a good offensive line. And they should, in theory, be able to handle the Vikings in terms of drop back situations in comparison to where Goff was previously with the Rams, where they were overwhelmed by pressure with those offensive lines. The Lions are more complete, I would say, in that regard. Now, I also think that the Lions have mismatches in the weapons department with Laporta, St. Brown, even Jamison Williams making plays. And, of course, Jahmyr Gibbs is a human glitch. So you've got that element as well. On the other side is kind of the matchup that I don't really know what's going to happen. I kind of think the Vikings defense is going to play better than people think, because I think Flores is going to stop the run of the Lions at least effectively enough and force Goff into tough situations. But on the other side, I don't really know what's going to happen, because Nick Mullins is a wild card. He's going to throw the ball straight at a D tackle for an interception, and then the next play, he's going to wildly scramble around, buy time, and find a guy in the end zone for a touchdown. They also found their best running back, Chandler, right? So I do think the Vikings should be able to move the ball against the Lions in a better way than the Broncos, just because, one, the Vikings at home typically move the ball. We know this. Number two, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson against the Lions secondary, mismatches across the board, right? So I think this game's going to be close. I think it's going to go down to the wire. I think it could go either way. Because I don't trust Nick Mullins, I'm going to go Lions to win, but I'll take the 3 in the hook. I'll take the Vikings plus the points. I do think the Vikings can make this very close, and I like the Flores matchup. So give me the 3 in the hook, but I'll take the Lions just because I don't trust Nick Mullins. He's going to make a mistake. The Jags at the Bucs. Is Trevor Lawrence playing? We don't really know yet, so that doesn't really allow me to properly handicap the game, and obviously won't be a best bet. But honestly, I'm going to say regardless, I'm going to take Tampa. I think Baker Mayfield has been every bit as good as Trevor Lawrence lately. So there's that. On top of that, I think the Bucs have found a rhythm in their offense. I think their offensive line's playing well enough. They're at home here. Evans is still a dog. Chris Godwin had his best game of the season against Green Bay. That should carry over. And Otton makes some plays. Rashad White has been an absolute baller supreme all year in the receiving game and the rushing game. And then defensively, what scares me if Trevor Lawrence is in the game is the vertical passing game. But Doug Peterson sometimes gets too caught up in horizontal screens and crazy crap that doesn't really work. And in this matchup in particular, he needs to let Trevor Lawrence just sling the rock down the field, because that's how you beat the Bucs. So this could be, if Lawrence plays, like a 27-24 type of game. I was impressed by Jacksonville's defense against the Ravens at home, but now they go on the road. Jacksonville has been better on the road, though, at least in terms of wins and losses, so there is that. I just think the Bucs they're feeling themselves. They're back at home. They understand they need to keep winning to make the playoffs. They've got a good juju going, and they're getting healthier on defense. I also feel like the Bucs will shut down the Jags from running the ball. And without Christian Kirk, there isn't that primary slot threat that usually gives the Bucs so many issues over the years. Now, maybe that could be an Evan Ingram here, potentially. We'll find out on the game day. But I'm going to go Tampa here. I want them to win. I like how they're playing. I'll ride Tampa. Next, Arizona Cardinals at the Chicago Bears. This one's pretty simple for me. I'm going to take Chicago to win. I'm going to take Arizona to cover. 4 is too many points for Chicago. I don't care that it's at home. 4 is too much respect for the Chicago Bears, who are a below average football team, right? They rank around, 18th to 20th best in my opinion. And Arizona is about the 25th or 24th best team in my opinion. I think Arizona has a better offense and an offensive line than people think, and I think that's a reason they can cover. Arizona can block, right? Arizona can block. They can run the ball. They can protect Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is a better quarterback than Justin Fields, so you're getting 4 points with the better quarterback. And then on top of that, Marquise Brown's been very quiet, but Trey McBride has been a real difference maker. Intrigued by that matchup against Chicago's defense. Get away from the corners of Chicago who have been so good, especially Jalen Johnson, and attack the middle of the field. That's fascinating after Njoku had such a big game for Cleveland. That's an interesting matchup to me. Arizona has an underrated run game. And then defensively, Arizona is not very good, but Chicago's offense is not very good either. I do think that Arizona's defense is feisty, and they can blitz, and they're kind of confusing at times. So that could throw off Fields a couple of times throughout this game to make some mistakes or hold the ball for a sack occasionally. So I think that Arizona finds a way to stay competitive and stay in this game, but I'm going to take Chicago to win barely. So that's my handicap. Pretty simple one right there. I just feel like Chicago should not really be giving 4 points to a team with a better quarterback than them. Next, Dallas Cowboys at the Miami Dolphins. This is one of the games of the week. This is going to be a great game in my opinion. I think it's going to be back and forth. I think it could go either way. Immediately after I saw Miami dismantle the Jets and the Cowboys get absolutely lambasted and obliterated by Josh Allen and James Cook, it made me think Dallas, big bounce back. And, you know, there's some issues with the matchup, I think, for Dallas in terms of they like to play a lot of man coverage, and this is not the team you want to play man coverage against for Miami, right? Miami, they've got Tyreek Hill. They've got Jalen Waddle. They've got guys that can beat man-to-man coverage, and Dan Quinn has been heavy man, but Dan Quinn's a smart guy. He knows that, and he also just saw his defense get ran all over last week. I think there's going to be some adjustments here by Dan Quinn. I think this is going to be a passionate performance by Dallas. I think Dallas is going to bounce back in a big way on offense. I think Dallas wins this game. I think Dallas is the better team. I think Dallas is more proven in big games, and Miami has kind of really yet to prove that they're a good team against good teams, and they consistently don't show up. This is a much better environment for Dallas. It's not on the road in the cold. It's on the road in the warmth. It's more suitable. I do think Jared Cook. Who was I going to say? CeeDee Lamb has a big game here. Huge bounce back. I could see Brown and Cooks making some plays, especially Xavier Howard's out. Javon Holland could be out. Those guys are injured. And this is a matchup where Miami's offensive line, once again, I said last week it could be a problem. It kind of was in moments, but I feel like it could be a big problem here in passing situations. Right? Miami has their whole offensive line injured, not showing up to practice. Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence and company could get some real pressure on Tua. And you know that if Dallas gets a lead, Dallas feeds off a lead, Dallas jumps on an opponent, and Dallas goes gangbusters. And even from behind, I feel like Dallas is a little bit more viable than Miami, in my opinion. So I feel like Dallas just comes out with an edge. Dallas comes out with something to prove. And I don't think that's going to be the case for Miami. Right? Miami's biggest games, it's against Baltimore, it's against Buffalo. I don't think this game is as big. This game is like a FU moment for Dak Prescott to get back on track, and I think that's what's going to happen. So I'm going to go like 30-23 for Dallas. I think they win. I think they get the minor upset here, and they come through in a bit of a shootout, but I'll take Dallas, the better quarterback. We'll see what's up with Zach Martin. That could be puzzling. That could be troubling. And I'm going to take, in my opinion, still the better defense in Dallas. So one thing I think people are going to overrate in this matchup, and I might be totally wrong about this, but one thing I think a lot of people are going to be really calculating is that Miami will run the ball well here. And I actually think because Miami runs the ball so much horizontally, and they try to extend the play a lot. They try to run a lot of stretch, a lot of outside zone. They're not really a straight ahead run team. I think that's where Dallas is actually good against the run. In order to run the ball against Dallas, I think you need to run it right at their face, which I think is part of the reason Dallas's defense will perform better here. I think Dallas has speed. Their problem is power. So that's why I've got the Cowboys. All right, next. The New England Patriots at the Denver Broncos. Shout out to Johnny, who's got 2 super chats. He says, newsflash, Dallas wins the Super Bowl. Oh, wait, I'm looking at the Mavericks. Shout out to Johnny in the chat. Thank you so much for the super chats, and thank you to everybody who supports the channels. So the channels? The channel, it's singular, with donations, because that keeps me going. All right, Patriots at the Broncos. Broncos to win, Patriots to cover. 6.5 is too many points for the Denver Broncos to cover against 99% of football teams. New England could get back Trent Brown this week, which would definitely help. I also think that I don't expect Ramondre Stevenson to play, so don't expect it. Hunter Henry, that's one to really watch. I think that's the biggest injury for New England. If he's in, obviously it helps. If he's out, obviously it hurts. But I think New England can manufacture enough on offense with their running game. I think that the Broncos' run defense is putrid. We saw that against Detroit, and that will definitely be a point of emphasis for Vance Joseph. He'll likely stack the box and force Zappe to beat him. But I do feel like guys like Demario Douglas and Devontae Parker can make some plays if the Broncos do try to overextend their hand towards the run game. Especially Demario Douglas, I think could be in for a big game if Hunter Henry's not there and if they play man coverage, because that's the guy they want to single up. But New England's defense is too good to be giving them 6.5 points, right? New England could have easily covered against Kansas City. And it was really, this is the worry with New England when you're taking them as a dog. It's the quarterback play. It's the quarterback play. It's the interceptions within their own 20-yard line that result in a touchdown or a field goal for the other team that kills the spread, right? That's what you got to worry about. And that's what you could worry about with this Broncos defense that really feasts on turnovers. They're all about their turnovers. They're all about their high-octane plays. They're not a very consistent defense. I do think New England, as long as they protect the ball, will cover this spread. But you've got to be aware of those interceptions, those fumbles, those big plays by the Broncos defense, especially at home. But on the other side, the Broncos, they want to run the ball. They want to get their run game going. New England's been the best run defense in football as of late. I don't think they're going to run the ball effectively with Javonte Williams. And I think that once they go to the pass, this does favor New England in the pass game as well. I don't think that Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy are really doing a lot here. We saw them against Detroit's ineffective secondary really struggle to get open, so I don't think they're going to do much against New England. So I think this is a low-scoring game. Denver finds a way to win because they have the better quarterback, but I think that the Patriots will cover. Next, the Raiders at the Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 10. This is too many points for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are not a team that really blows many teams out. Now, I think they covered a double-digit spread against the Raiders in the first game, but I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the Chiefs actually got behind early, and it caused them to turn on the Jets. If I remember correctly, the Raiders were winning by 14, and then the Chiefs surged back and covered the spread. So this game's at Arrowhead. That definitely scares you. But the Raiders have been playing better and better and better ball. They're coming off a 10-day rest. They kicked the crap out of the Chargers. And I do think the Raiders can maintain competitiveness in this game. Their defense is underrated. They typically know how to take Kelsey out of games, or at least in part, until he gets to the red zone where he usually scores touchdowns. But the Chiefs' offense is just too inconsistent right now. They're too reliant on screens and they drop the ball all the time, and they're too reliant on Mahomes running around. The Raiders have a smart defense. The Raiders are well coached on defense. I think they'll have a good game plan here that will keep them in the game. And then offensively, the Raiders got a lot of talent, right? Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams, they can beat man coverage. Hunter Renfrow can beat man coverage. Chiefs like to play man coverage. And O'Connell looked really comfortable last week. I think that in a second game playing Spags defense, he'll look more comfortable than he did in the first game. So, yeah, I think the Chiefs obviously will win. They're the better team. They're at home. They've got the better quarterback by far. They've got Andy Reid. But I think the Raiders are playing hard and the Raiders are fighting. So I'll take them with 10 points. 10 is a lot of points. All right. 2 games to go. The Giants at the Eagles. G-Men getting 12 points at Philadelphia. Oof. Now, if this game if I didn't know about what the Eagles have done to the Giants in matchups in the past, I would be all over the Giants here because the Eagles are just not a good football team. Like, I think we need to put that out there. The Eagles are not very good. We can continue to rate them as they were last year, but that's not the case. They're not that good, right? The offensive line and the run game kind of got back to it last week. A.J. Brown made some plays, but Jalen Hurts was very inconsistent. And on the other side, their defense is crap. Like, their secondary sucks. Their pass rush is overrated. Their linebackers stink. I do think that Matt Patricia has done I thought last week they played the best defense they played in weeks. Now, maybe that had a lot to do with Drew Lock or the Seahawks or whatever, and not playing the Niners or the Cowboys. But overall, I don't know. Like, if I didn't know that the Eagles blew the Giants out 3 times last year, I'd probably take the Giants to cover 12 because the Eagles are not a good team. But this is a bounce back spot for Philadelphia. They need this win desperately. It's at home. I think that the fans will be anxious for a victory. So I'm going to take Philadelphia to win and Philadelphia to cover. But I think it's going to be by 14, something like that. It will be pretty close to the spread. I will not be betting this game. John says, breaking news, Eagles will win the Super Bowl. No chance, John. I'm sorry. No chance, Big Al. I think that the Eagles will win. I think the Eagles will cover. It's in Philadelphia. They need this win. And I don't really know what's going on with the offense of the Giants, like, in terms of the quarterback. Like, Tommy DeVito, he's had his day. He had his moment in the sun. I think he's starting to get figured out a little bit. So, and the Eagles have played their best defense against the Giants over the last couple of years. So, I'll go with the Eagles here. All right. The last game is the Baltimore Ravens at the San Francisco 49ers. This is the biggest matchup of the week. Arguably a Super Bowl preview. This is a game that you must watch. This is potential MVP Lamar Jackson traveling to potential MVPs Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy. This is a huge game. And I like the Niners a lot here. I think some people are going to want to take the Ravens as dogs with Harbaugh and Lamar, and that's somewhat understandable given their success against NFC opponents and Lamar Jackson against the NFC. But the way that I see the NFL is the Niners are the best team in the NFL by a long shot. And it's not particularly close, especially when the Niners play their A game. And when the Niners are at home, they have the ability to blow you out. So I think I've seen some holes in the Ravens lately. I've seen the Ravens offense be kind of inconsistent in terms of their ability to separate. I think I've seen some inconsistencies in terms of their pass protection. I've seen ability for the Niners defense to attack these weaknesses. Be aggressive in coverage, rush Lamar, don't allow him to escape, rush 5, don't allow him to have a lane to move and collapse the pocket. And I think the Niners secondary can hold up here. I don't think the Niners are outgunned, in terms of the Ravens receiving core. I could see Lamar making some crazy plays and, the occasional big play from an Isaiah Likely or a Zay Flowers or OBJ, but I think it's going to be few and far between. I think when you look at the Niners offense, they're one of the best offenses I've ever seen. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They're great in play action. They're great in the screen game. They create out of nothing. And they've got so many weapons. And the Ravens defense is good. Don't get me wrong. But they're not great. I think the Niners can run the ball on the Ravens. The Ravens have weaknesses against the run. We just saw Sean McVay really have a great game plan against the Ravens. And Kyle Shanahan is like Sean McVay on steroids. So and the Niners offense is the Rams offense on steroids. I kind of feel like the Niners are going to put up 30. And I don't think the Ravens are going to get close. So I think this is another big win for the Niners, like 31-20, 31-17. Maybe I'm totally off. I think the Niners win. I think the Niners cover. I think this is a bad matchup for the Ravens, honestly. And it's on the road. If this was in Baltimore earlier in the year, I would be maybe a little bit more hesitant, right? I'd be a little bit more into the Ravens, but this is in San Francisco. This is later in the year. Shanahan's teams usually peak late. I think they're starting to peak, and I think the defense of the Niners, as long as they have Armstead and Hargrave in here, they'll do a respectable job against the run of the Ravens. That is the avenue for the Ravens. They've got to be able to run the ball. With Armstead, with Hargrave, I think it will allow the Niners to do a better job. Hopefully they're in. Now, obviously, check your injury reports, but I like the Niners here. I just think they're the best team by a lot. And it's no real, like, shot at the Ravens. I like the Ravens a lot. I think they're probably, them or the Bills to me are the best team in the AFC. I just don't think either team is on the Niners level. I would pick the Niners to win and cover against any team in the league. So there it is. San Francisco. Those are my picks for week number 16. Johnny's in the chat. He says Lamar will have 60 yards passing and 50 yards rushing. Chris says Niners are in playoff shape. Not sure about the Ravens. Yeah, I definitely see more susceptibility to the Ravens. The one thing I'll say about the Niners, like we saw last week, you can run it on them, but that was with injuries. So if they have their players back, I see that as less susceptible. Shout out to everybody in the chat. AC Jasmine, she says, give me my Commanders +3. I like it. Singh says, bye, Mitch. Marcus says, Patriots will win. Jasmine said, don't want the Commanders to lose this week against the Jets. Commanders will win this week. Reek says, likely are Flowers for an anytime touchdown. I would not bet anytime touchdown for the Ravens this week. I would say if either one were to score, well, I think Gus Edwards would be the bet overall, but I'd probably say Zay if I had to choose. You might get a good price on him after last week. Big Al's game of the week, Niners, Ravens, 31-21. Niners cover, bang, bang, Niner gang for my homegirl, Miss Becca. And John says Ravens will beat the Niners and Mitch rants. All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Gronk, spike the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel for weekly NFL picks. My best bets will be out soon. Peace.